The school ignored my daughter's bully, so I exposed the truth and brought down his powerful father. The school dismissed it as typical boyish behavior. When a bully targeted my daughter, I decided to show them what happens when a father steps in. I was working in my home office when I heard my daughter sobbing in her room, the sound of scissors snipping through something. When I entered, she was surrounded by clumps of her golden hair, tears streaking her face. I knelt beside her, gently prying the scissors from her trembling hands. Her wide blue eyes met mine, and she whispered, "Maybe now he'll stop bothering me." That night, Emma wouldn't share much. She kept saying it wasn't important anymore and went to bed with her hair uneven and jagged. For the next 3 days, I tried to coax details from her. She barely ate her breakfast and poked at her dinners. When I called her teacher, Miss Larson, she chuckled at my worry. "Oh, you're talking about Liam Carter? He's got a huge crush on Emma. It's sweet how he trails after her like a lost puppy. Boys his age just don't know how to show their feelings." Something about the phrase, "trails after her," twisted my gut. I didn't know how to approach Emma about it, but I didn't need to. When she got home that afternoon, she broke down completely. Apparently, Liam had been taunting her with the nickname Sunshine Locks every day, rallying the class to chant it during recess. He'd corner her in empty corridors, demanding she hug him. The previous week, he'd grabbed her chin, forcing her to face him, saying, "When I'm talking, you look at me. I'm only rough because that's how you show love." I was livid. The school kept calling it innocent affection, so I told Emma to stand her ground, to shout loudly if he touched her again, so teachers couldn't ignore it. Sometimes I wonder how things might have turned out if I'd stayed silent. The next day, Emma came home with bruises on her arms and her shirt ripped at the neckline. She'd yelled at Liam to back off in front of everyone. The teacher made her apologize for humiliating him and causing a commotion. Worse, after school, Liam and 3 friends ambushed her to teach her a lesson. "My dad says girls act like they don't want it, but they do," he sneered. "You shamed me, so now we're square. Tomorrow I'll show you real love." Emma collapsed into my arms, and I soothed her like when she was small, whispering she was safe, though my hands shook with fury. That night I drove to Liam's house. His father answered, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my monthly paycheck. "Your son's been harassing my daughter," I said. He cut me off with a smug grin. "That's not what I heard. Liam says your daughter's been giving him mixed signals, stringing him along, then rejecting him publicly." I wanted to punch him, but then I saw his wife standing behind him, a bruise darkening her cheek. He pulled her close, his grip possessive. "Clara knows how relationships work, 20 years of marriage, because she understands that when I get rough, it's because I love her too much to let her go." That's when I realized Liam was mirroring his father's behavior. I vowed they'd both face consequences. I left their house, my hands still trembling. The drive home felt endless. I kept stopping to steady myself. Emma was asleep when I got back, her uneven hair fanned across her pillow like shattered dreams. The next morning, I took photos of her bruised arms, careful not to hurt her as I adjusted her wrists for better shots. While she ate breakfast, I searched her backpack and found crumpled notes buried in a pocket. My stomach churned as I read them. "You belong to me," scrawled repeatedly in sloppy handwriting. "Ignore me and you'll regret it." One had a crude sketch of a girl with crosses over her eyes. I laid the notes on the kitchen table and photographed them. Emma watched silently, stirring her cereal. When I asked about text messages, she shook her head, avoiding my gaze. I sensed she was holding something back. That afternoon, the principal called, not about Liam, but Emma. "Mr. Bennett, I'm worried about your daughter's behavior. She's been disruptive, seeking negative attention. Have you considered therapy? Sometimes kids act out when things are unstable at home." I gripped the phone, my knuckles whitening. "My daughter has bruises from being attacked yesterday. Did Miss Larson report that?" "Miss Larson mentioned Emma caused a scene," he replied. "She humiliated Liam in front of his peers. We can't allow students to create hostile environments." The call ended with him suggesting Emma might thrive in a different class, isolated from her friends and any witnesses. 2 days later, it happened. Emma came home and went straight to her room without speaking. When I knocked, she was at her desk, staring blankly. "They moved me," she said softly, "to Mrs. Keller's class. None of my friends are there, but Liam's still with Miss Larson and everyone else." I sat on her bed, swallowing my anger. "Did they explain why?" "The principal said it was for my benefit, to give me distance from the situation." She turned, her eyes empty. "Dad, he always wins." The next few days were hell. Emma started eating lunch alone because Liam had rallied a group of boys to surround her table, making kissing noises and laughing when she ignored them. The lunch monitors did nothing. When she tried eating in the librarian sent her away, claiming Liam reported her for damaging books. I installed a recording app on Emma's phone after explaining why. She agreed instantly, desperate for help. The first recording chilled me to the bone. Liam had cornered her near the water fountain. "My dad knows people on the school board. If you don't start being nice, he'll make sure your dad loses his teaching job. You want him unemployed. Then smile when you see me." I set up a meeting with the superintendent, armed with photos, recordings, and proof of the school's negligence. But when I arrived, his secretary gave me an odd look. "Oh, Mr. Bennett, Dr. Grayson is expecting you." The meeting was a disaster. Dr. Grayson sat with his hands clasped, barely glancing at my evidence. "Mr. Carter came to me already," he said calmly. "He's concerned about your daughter's mental health. Apparently she's obsessed with his son, making false claims when he doesn't return her feelings." "That's a lie," I said, sliding the photos across his desk. "Look at these bruises. Listen to these recordings." He pushed them back without a glance. "Kids can be creative when seeking attention. Recordings can be manipulated. Mr. Carter showed me threatening emails you've sent to other parents about his family. It seems you're the one harassing them." I hadn't sent any emails, but arguing felt futile when he'd already picked a side. Strange things started happening after that. Every morning, at least one of my car tires was low. I thought it was a fluke at first, but by the fourth time I found small nails scattered near my driveway, placed to puncture tires. Then at 2 a.m., Emma woke me, trembling. "Dad, he sent me pictures." Her phone shook in her hands. The images stopped my heart, photos of her bedroom window from outside, taken on different nights. In one, her silhouette moved behind the curtains. I called the police immediately. 2 officers arrived, looking uninterested. They jotted notes, glanced at the photos, and shrugged. "Without proof it's the Carter boy, we can't do much. Could be anyone. Maybe get security cameras." Emma didn't sleep that night. Neither did I the next evening. Someone knocked at 8 p.m. through the peephole. I saw Clara Carter alone. Under the porch light, a fresh black eye was visible. "I need to talk," she said softly, glancing behind her. "About James, about what he's teaching Liam." I let her in and made tea as she sat at my kitchen table, her hands trembling around the mug. "He has cameras," she said finally. "All over our house. He's been showing Liam how to track phones, how to follow someone without being seen. He calls it keeping control of what's his." She pulled a USB drive from her purse. "I copied files from his computer, videos from our security system. You need to see what he's teaching our son." I plugged it into my laptop as Clara stared at her tea. The first video showed James and Liam in a home office. James was demonstrating on Clara, gripping her arm tightly. "See how she pulls away at first?" he told Liam. "That's normal. Women need to be managed. They'll thank you later." Clara's face in the video was expressionless. Liam watched, engrossed, as his father showed him pressure points, ways to grab someone without leaving obvious marks. "Your mother learned long ago that resisting makes it worse. Smart women know their role." I copied everything, making multiple backups. Clara shared more about James's influence, his school board position, the people he controlled. "He'll ruin you if you're not careful," she warned. "He's done it to others who stood up to him." After she left, I spent the night organizing the evidence into a detailed file. I knew I had to be strategic. James had already turned the school against us. The next morning, I presented my evidence to the school board. I'd barely begun when James rose from his seat at the table, a smug grin on his face. "Mr. Bennett has been harassing my family for weeks. His daughter is fixated on my son, and instead of addressing it, he's fueling her fantasies." He moved to dismiss the discussion until I sought mental health support for Emma. The motion passed unanimously. Things escalated fast. Emma came home from art class covered in paint, her favorite sweater ruined. Shaking, she explained that Liam had cornered her during a project, trying to cut her hair with scissors for his collection. She'd pushed him, and he'd crashed into the paint supplies. The art teacher walked in, saw the mess, heard Liam's cries, and blamed Emma. She got a week of detention and had to clean up. During her first detention, Liam and 5 friends surrounded the classroom windows, pressing their faces against the glass, making crude gestures and mouthing threats. The monitor stayed glued to his phone. That night, I decided to pull Emma from school. "We'll homeschool," I told her, "until we sort this out." Her relief broke my heart. "Thank you," she whispered, hugging me tightly. But James wasn't finished. 3 days into homeschooling, a social worker, Lisa Wang, arrived with official papers, citing a report of educational neglect and isolation. She needed to evaluate Emma's living situation. Something about her seemed familiar. She conducted the interview professionally, but her eyes lingered on the evidence files on my coffee table. When she asked to speak to Emma alone, I hesitated but agreed. They talked for an hour. When they emerged, Lisa's demeanor had shifted. "Mr. Bennett, we need to discuss the Carter family. I'm Clara's cousin. I've seen James hurt her for 15 years. Lisa sat at our kitchen table, her tone turning personal. She showed me photos from years of family events, Clara with injuries hidden under makeup. "I've documented what I could, but Clara always covered for him, until now." She explained that Clara had called her the previous night, ready to act. The USB was just the start. Lisa had connected with a family lawyer, Elizabeth Harper, who specialized in domestic violence and institutional corruption. She's built cases that hold up against people like James. I met Elizabeth the next morning at her downtown office. She was sharp, her eyes missing nothing as she reviewed our evidence for 3 hours, asking precise questions. When she finished, her expression was serious but resolute. "James Carter has done this before," she said, pulling out a thick file. 3 other families filed complaints over the past decade. Each was discredited and driven out of town. But they didn't have what you have, Clara's cooperation and Lisa's documentation. She outlined our plan. We needed more proof of James's direct role in the harassment. She gave me specific instructions on legal documentation and self-protection. That afternoon, Emma revealed something she'd hidden. Screenshots of a group chat where Liam instructed other boys to isolate her. "Block her from eating anywhere. Crowd the hallways so she has to face me. My dad says if enough people call her unstable, everyone will believe it." I sent everything to Elizabeth, who responded quickly, urging multiple backups. 2 days later, our doorbell camera caught a figure matching Liam's build, spray painting vile threats and crude drawings on our fence at 3 a.m. We had clear footage. When I went to document the damage, I found our garden hose severed, water flooding the yard, and the outdoor outlet tampered with, though the breaker had tripped. I called the police, mentioning Elizabeth Harper's name. The officers' attitudes shifted. They documented everything thoroughly and promised a full report. Elizabeth called that evening with news. "Clara visited my office today. She brought 20 years of diaries detailing James's abuse, names, dates, incidents. She also has recordings from their home security system that James doesn't know she copied." The recordings were devastating. James teaching Liam how to intimidate girls. "Never leave marks where teachers can see. If she talks, say she's desperate for attention. Fear is stronger than love. Once they're scared, they'll do anything to stop it." The most chilling recording was recent. James instructing Liam to escalate against Emma. "Her father's getting too bold. Show them what happens when people cross us. Start with their house. Make them feel unsafe everywhere." Elizabeth filed for emergency restraining orders the next morning. The hearing was set for the following week, but she warned that James would intensify his efforts once served. She was right. The day after James got the papers, 3 school board members appeared on our porch, led by Thomas Harper, the board president. "Mr. Bennett, we're concerned about your suitability as a teacher," he began, reading from notes. "Reports suggest you're coaching your daughter to make false claims, a serious ethical breach that could cost you your license." I recorded the exchange with my phone in my pocket. "Are you threatening my job for protecting my daughter from assault?" Thomas flushed. "We're suggesting this could resolve quietly if you drop these baseless accusations. Mr. Carter is willing to secure your job if you cooperate." "Leave my property," I said calmly, "and tell James his tactics won't work." They left, but Thomas muttered, "You don't know who you're up against. James has connections you can't touch." That night, Clara called from Lisa's house where she was staying. "James is desperate," she said, her voice tense but firm. "He's calling everyone to spin the story, but I found his notebook, years of strategies, names of people he's blackmailed, favors he's leveraged." She'd photographed every page before leaving. The notebook exposed a network of manipulation across our town, school officials, business owners, even some police officers under James's influence. Elizabeth was thrilled with the photos. "This isn't just about your family anymore. It's a pattern of corruption and abuse." We spent 3 days preparing for the hearing. Elizabeth coached Emma to testify clearly and factually. She was brave, though her hands trembled during practice. Meanwhile, the harassment grew careless. Liam was caught on school cameras slipping threatening notes into lockers, trying to turn others against Emma. The principal, now worried about lawsuits, called to apologize for his earlier dismissal. At the hearing, the courtroom was packed. Other families attended. Parents of children Liam had bullied, women who saw their own stories in Clara's. James arrived with a high-priced lawyer, confident until he saw Clara with our team. His face cycled through shock, anger, then neutrality. Judge Margaret Ellis, known for her no-nonsense demeanor, reviewed the evidence methodically. When Elizabeth played the recordings of James teaching Liam intimidation tactics, the room went silent except for the lawyer's frantic scribbling. Emma testified with poise, detailing the relentless harassment and the school's failure to act. When James's lawyer suggested she was exaggerating, she showed the judge photos Liam sent of her bedroom window at 2:47 a.m. with the message, "Sleep well, sunshine." Then came the pivotal moment. Liam took the stand. His father had prepped him, but his teenage bravado undid him. Asked about the harassment, he smirked. "My dad says girls need to learn their place. Emma was acting tough, so I had to show her who's boss." "That's what men do." The judge's face tightened. "Who taught you this?" "My dad. He showed me with Mom how to make women listen. He says when they're scared enough, they'll do anything you want." James leaped up, grabbing Liam's arm hard enough to make him yelp. "Shut up, you fool!" Court officers restrained James, but the damage was done. He'd assaulted his son in front of the judge, confirming our claims. Judge Ellis called a recess. When we returned, her ruling was decisive. Permanent restraining orders against James and Liam, no contact with Emma or me. Liam was ordered into intensive therapy with court oversight, but she wasn't finished. "Mr. Carter, your actions today, combined with the evidence, are deeply troubling. I'm referring this to the district attorney for charges including witness intimidation, assault, and conspiracy to harass." James's lawyer tried to protest, but the judge silenced him. "I'm also sending all documentation to the school board, recommending Mr. Carter's immediate removal from his position." As we left, Clara approached us, looking drained but relieved. "Thank you for believing the evidence, for fighting. You've given me the strength to finally break free." Her divorce lawyer waited in the parking lot. With the restraining order and James's courtroom assault on record, she was pursuing emergency custody and a swift divorce. The next weeks were intense. James was arrested on multiple charges after the DA reviewed the evidence. His bail was high due to his documented intimidation. The school board, facing public backlash, voted to oust him. Other families shared stories of Liam's bullying and James's cover-ups. Elizabeth filed a civil suit for multiple victims, seeking damages and systemic changes. The school district, fearing lawsuits, introduced strict anti-bullying policies and mandatory teacher training. The principal was placed on leave pending investigation. Liam was sent to a therapeutic boarding school for behavioral correction, with court-mandated therapy and progress reports. His therapist later said his worldview, shaped by his father's teachings, would take years to unravel. Clara's divorce moved quickly. With the charges and documented abuse, she gained full custody. James was limited to supervised visits, which Liam initially refused. The criminal trial was set for 6 months later, but James's attempts to intimidate witnesses from jail added to his charges. His former allies distanced themselves, recalling his misconduct they'd once ignored. Our community began to heal slowly but surely.